Tonight on Addiction Talk, we're diving into the incredible true story of Aaron Williamson, actor, stuntman, Marine Corps veteran, and personal trainer to Hollywood's elite. But don't let the spotlight fool you. Aaron's life wasn't always so glamorous. As a child, Aaron found himself drowning in pain, numbing his emotions with drugs. By 7th grade, he had already survived an overdose. His life could have ended there, but it didn't. Everything changed for Aaron when he joined the Marines. Through grit, discipline, and a relentless commitment to fitness, Aaron rewrote his story. Now he devotes himself to helping others level up and transform their lives, one rep at a time. Addiction Talk starts now. Thank you for joining us on Addiction Talk. And we are so excited to have Aaron here to share his journey, because he told me before we came on live that this is the first time he's really gotten this in depth with his story and being so vulnerable about everything he's gone through. So Aaron, welcome to Addiction Talk.
Thank you. It's really good to be here with you. Mike and I have been talking about doing something together for a long time. So it's really cool how fitting this is.
Well, we also love that you and Mike have known each other for years. Mike is now the co-host of Addiction Talk. So he's joining me. He's not only a celebrity interventionist, but he's also the director of engagement and intervention services for American Addiction Centers. He's joining us live from our Desert Hope Treatment Center. So we're going to have a conversation tonight that we really believe is going to be transformational for people who are listening to it, who may be struggling or who are in the early stages of recovery. But before we get too serious, we have something we like to call a little icebreaker to get to know you a little bit, Aaron. So I'm gonna put you on the spot. I'm gonna throw 3 questions at you. Me and Mike are gonna chime in, but we really want to get to know you a little bit better and let our audience learn more about who you are. So first of all, first question, how would you describe your recovery journey in one word?
I would say relentless. Yeah, it's fortunately I've been able to maintain control because I got into fitness at such a young age. But the journey's just been absolutely relentless, and I've had to be relentless on this journey because there's just been so many obstacles. When I thought I was going to make it, you get slapped by life, and then it brings you back down, and you have to rebuild.
I love that, because when I look at you, and I was saying that I've seen you several times with your shirt off, we're not really getting to see the relentlessness of you with your muscles. I know you and Mike probably compete a little bit on who's got the better physique, but I know that you are resilient when it comes not only to fitness, but also to your recovery journey. So we love to hear it. So Mike, what is your thoughts when you hear, Aaron describe his journey as relentless, and you know him? So
well, the biggest thing with Aaron is his ability to pivot. To me, he's got so much grit, but he pivots. Like, he has faced so many obstacles that people don't realize. So they see one thing, like you say, good looking dude, great body, but they don't realize how so many people have done the wrong thing by him and just ripped him off. Like, he's faced so much crap, and we know this because we dealt with Hollywood people, that he has had to live in the pivot 24/7.
Oh, wow. So Aaron, I know as we were talking about this, there's many celebrities that you've worked with and that you've been able to help them, not only veterans, which I think is huge, and we're going to get to that later about the connection between fitness and recovery, but some celebrities that you've worked with. What do you feel like you've learned the most from working with people who are striving for greater fitness or who are looking at this as a tool for recovery?
When you're dealing in the celebrity space, there's a lot of nuance that goes into it because, you're only one piece of, let's just say, an actor's day, right? So they've got a full day of rehearsals, stunt training, whatever their specialty is. They've got to read lines. They've got to rehearse. They've got to do so much. And really what it comes down to is you have to be able to be knowledgeable enough, but also creative enough to keep them motivated in some of their long days, because you might get someone at, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning or at the beginning of the day, or you might get them at the end of the day where they're just completely tired and beat. And you might have had a plan in your head of how you're going to do the training, but now they're coming in after they've been beat to hell of going through whatever stunt training and whatever production threw at them for the day. So it's being able to adapt on the fly, be creative enough, keep them inspired, keep them motivated, keep them healthy, keep production going. Most of the time, the character needs to look a certain way for a certain role they're playing. So there's a lot of things as a trainer that come into play that you have to be very aware of during the course of a transformation with a high-end celebrity.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love that. I'm wondering if I work with you, would my muscles get like that? I mean, I don't want to look like She-Hulk or anything, but I see how you're able to transform the body. So it seems like you just have a gift for this.
It's really about tapping into the mental. It's really about trying to capture something that can bypass what they're thinking about is just physical. So when you can impart that mental aspect of how I do things on a long day, if I'm filming or if I'm doing something else, and you can talk to them in a way that's relatable, then you have a lot of success. But yes, we can definitely do that.
Okay, I'll be looking forward. No She-Hulk over here, but the definition Mike is the same way. Mike is relentless. When I talk to him behind the scenes, he's at our Desert Hope Treatment Center, but this guy is getting up at 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, first of all, how you do it? And then he's out there training. So can you relate, Mike, when you hear what Aaron is saying about the mental component to fitness, and then even how that's related to your recovery?
Yeah, because that's why we got along. I actually stayed with Aaron when we were trying to do some stuff in Arizona, and we were both up at 3:30 in the morning. And I think that's why we clicked when he found out that I ran 30 half marathons in 30 days after stomach surgery. And our real dear friend who died exactly a year ago around this time, Rob Hanley, introduced us. We both did the cover of Recovery Today magazine. And we always said our collaboration is so important because without your physical health, you don't have mental health. And the one thing, it's that important.
Wow.
Physical, because movement is medicine. What people don't understand is when you move the body, you spike the dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. And the problem is with Americans right now is they sit on the couch, they eat bad foods, and they don't move. Right? And that's why COVID crushed so many people, because people weren't moving. The reason I love Aaron, and I want to ask you a question, Aaron, as well. When you started training these celebrities, right, and you're going into this world, did you ever get imposter syndrome? Did you ever think, or did you always believe that you knew what you were doing was right and you didn't have to deal with that? Because I know a lot of people can idolize people. I'm not saying you did, but how was your mindset around that stuff?
The imposter syndrome is something I've never had. I when I joined the Marine Corps, I was able to adopt this belief system that allowed me to believe in myself enough to accomplish anything I set my mind to do. Now, I just talk about all this being destiny or part of God's plan. I never seek Hollywood. It just kind of happened. And there were some there were some moments where it was surreal, in the gym with Sylvester Stallone or The Rock or some of these, big icons. And at the end of the day, you realize that they're human beings just like you are. You just see them a lot on the biggest screen in the world. So it kind of comes across a little bit different, but they talk the same as you. They do the same things. They eat, they eat food. They sleep at night. They do all the things a human being does. And when you can really create that belief system and know that you have a gift and you're here to help people, then you have a lot of success behind it because you're there for a reason. You're not there for anything other than to do a job.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other questions that we like to ask is our icebreaker question is, what is your go-to song for your workouts to get you pumped up? Everybody has like Eye of the Tiger. I don't know.
This is where me being a different breed comes into play, because I don't actually like listening to music, so to speak. I mean, I like the old school 90s rock and early 2000s, but I like to really tap into the mental side of things, because when I'm in the gym, it's my sanctuary, it's my outlet. And, so I'm listening to stuff that's like inspirational. I'm listening to motivational type of videos where maybe there's some background music to it, but I'm able to place all the things that I've went through in my life to the forefront to fuel my training. All the sacrifice that I've been through, whether it's in the Marine Corps or whether it's sacrificing time with my family on this crazy journey that I'm on. But most recently, I've actually come across this platform called New Calm, and it started off in 1990. It's been going on now for the last 35 years, but the guy partnered up with Harvard and NASA. So essentially, it's like neuroacoustic technology that has all the different, delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma ray brain waves, right? So the one I like to use is called Ignite, and focuses on the gamma brain waves. I think it's like 39 to 41 hertz. So you don't really hear it, but I can go from this lethargic space to put the headphones on, and within a few minutes, I'm ready to go run a marathon. It's the craziest thing.
And it helps you to kind of process. So when you're working out, are you saying like you're processing in your mind while you're working your muscle, you're processing in the mind of your day or what's been going on or the challenges that you're facing?
Yeah, it's, I'm not in this to do it for anybody else, but along the way, I've had a lot of people who have tried to beat me down, to take me off course, to really screw me over. And I look at it as like, there's no one and nothing can take me down. So it's that fuel, kind of like the David Goggins, where he plays the hate comments when he trains to motivate himself. It's something ironically weird.
Now, have you and Mike ever worked out together? I'm interested to see if y'all have had those moments. And is it quiet? Are you guys both in your own worlds?
Well, because we don't really see each other that much. Usually when we're training, it's not as intense as it normally would be if he was with me every day. So we kind of chit chat a little bit throughout the session. But I mean, we get after it. He surprised me. He surprised me how strong he was, especially with the damn pull-ups.
So he's strong.
I'm a pull-up machine. That's what I am. The best thing, when we trained, we met in Vegas, and there's like a code when you train with people. And I know, like, he's in great shape, but I learned from old school bodybuilders, he's stronger than me. So I just said, I'll follow you. And you don't talk. You just train. And we sat there, true. And your chemistry. And we just went through a workout together. We barely said anything. It was this awesome workout, wasn't it? And we just knew, we're in sync, because you're not supposed to talk. I was following his lead on some stuff. He picked up a heavy weight. I'll work with him. I'm like, what do you want? I think we did chest and shoulders and triceps. Yeah. And we went through it together, and we were meticulous. We didn't bother each other. It was a good workout. And that's how it's a respect thing when you're training, and you lock in together, and you just kind of know. So, if we were closer together, we'd obviously train a lot more. But yeah, when we train together, we lock in. But he knows I'm a pull-up machine.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Well, I want to get to how you got there today, Aaron. So we want to go back, because you weren't always in this space. You weren't always the celebrity trainer. You've gone through so much in your life, which you have alluded to. But I want to go back to the beginning of your story, because there was a point in your life where you were in the 7th grade. And that's when you experienced your very first overdose, or having an overdose. Take me back to your childhood and how you got to even to the point of having an overdose as a child.
Yeah, I mean, looking back on it, it's hard to believe that was me. My mother and my father got divorced when I was in the 6th grade, and it really affected me in a strange way, because I really became more introverted. Kept to myself more. There was a little bit of depression that started to happen. And the school that I went to, there was this group of kids that just, I don't know, maybe they sensed it or what, but they started to kind of bully me. And I didn't really know how to fight back or do anything, because prior to that, my family, I just kind of, there were no problems in my life. So now all of a sudden I'm confronted with this new situation. And I'm getting bullied. I'm the typical, stealing my money, knocking the books out of my hand, just always tripping me, occasionally getting punched in the side of the head or something like that when I don't even know anyone's there. So this underlying anger started to develop. And I think when you're a kid and you start going into this place of darkness, you end up being around the wrong people. So that's what happened. I ended up being around the wrong people, and those people that I was hanging around were drug dealers, people who were on house arrest. So my 7th grade year, I remember being at this guy's place. He's on house arrest. He's dealing cocaine and drugs and whatever. Out of there is this little shack of a house in the middle of the woods in Ormond Beach, Florida. And I just remember I was doing a little bit of cocaine. I took some speed, and I did a little more cocaine, took a little more speed, and I was like out of my mind. And I remember riding my bike home, and I don't really remember much after that except waking up in the hospital after I had my stomach pumped. And they wouldn't release me until I had a psychological evaluation to see if I was suicidal and all that stuff. And it was kind of an eye-opening moment, but at the same time, it didn't really deter me from continuing down the wrong path. My mom sent me out to the Ozarks in Missouri to live with my grandfather for the summer and just get me away from everybody. So came back from that and just slowly kind of fell back into the wrong crowd again. And then my real father came back into play, came on Thanksgiving, picked me up, drove me to Chattanooga, Tennessee, kind of fell into the wrong crowd there. His wife didn't want me there. It was just a bad situation all around. So they ended up driving me to Panama City, Florida, and put me in a psychiatric rehabilitation center, which is where I almost went into foster care.
Wow. And that was all under 18.
Yeah, this was all leading up to my first freshman year.
Oh, freshman year. Wow.
Yeah.
So how was high school? Sorry, Dre.
No, go ahead. You go ahead, Mike.
How was high school?
It was rough until my mom came to the hospital, brought me back to Daytona Beach, Florida, and she put me in a private school. And then I realized, I needed to do better because there's a financial responsibility that my mom is now put on her shoulders to try and help me do better. I didn't get in as much trouble. I still got into a little bit of trouble here and there as any teenager would, but at the same time, I still thought I knew what was best for me. I still kind of lacked respect for authority, and I basically squandered every opportunity I possibly could have had with college and stuff. So it was around the 10th grade year that I started to think, like, I need to start thinking about my future here. Like I'm going to be an adult here soon, and I have no future planned at all. Like there's no vision of anything.
And so is that when, like, I know there was a time where you were still using drugs and you're looking, I can hear you saying, like, you're thinking about your future. You're realizing you've been in a psychiatric ward. You've gone back and forth. You've dealt with the challenges with your family and just changing dynamics. And as you move along the path, there was a point, I know, because we've seen the pictures of you being a Marine, that you said, this is the next step. Maybe this is going to save me. Did you have this idea in your mind that maybe going into the Marines or doing something could change the trajectory of what you've been going through and even, dealing with drug use?
Well, I remember I played sports in high school just to try and keep myself out of trouble. And there was a guy on the varsity football team. He was a linebacker. I'm not sure if you're familiar with WWE, but there was a guy named Goldberg back at the time. Shaved head, big traps, just looked like he wanted to eat you. And I remember when he graduated, he joined the Marine Corps. And when he came back from boot camp, I couldn't believe the person I was seeing. He lost all this weight. He was streamlined. He was talking different. He looked different. He didn't say much, very reserved. And he just carried himself in a really disciplined way. And I knew right then that's what I wanted. And I thought that's what I needed. So that was my spark to join the Marine Corps.
I was going to say, so were you a good athlete in high school or not? I
was decent, but at the same time, I don't really know comparatively to like other like bigger high schools. I was at a small Catholic high school. So, like on the football team, I punted, I was backup quarterback, I played tight end, I was defensive end, linebacker. Like you could put me in any position. I was kind of a utility guy. I did some track and field stuff. I played baseball. I did volleyball.
So
but never did you. I was going to say what's interesting is never did you probably imagine that you'd be the trainer and the athlete that you are today. But I also, as I'm looking back, like over your journey and thinking about that, did you ever consider yourself before you got into the Marines and kind of started having this transformation of having addiction? Did you see yourself as someone who had addiction, or did you think, oh, I'm just dabbling?
I really never, I never really thought of anything I did along the lines of addiction. I don't believe until I was in the Marine Corps, probably when I was doing burial duty, that I realized there was something underlying that I had to really be aware of. And this is where fitness, I say today, for so many different reasons, saved my life, because, there were times when I was a body bearer, that, or even in the Fleet Marine Force. But I specifically remember this one moment in Manassas, Virginia, when all the guys and I went out. We were just drinking, and I just couldn't stop. I was drinking. Next thing you know, I don't even know how this happened because I don't remember it. But actually, there were two situations. One was some guys picked me up off the sidewalk. Apparently, I had passed out on the sidewalk, and they put me in the back of their truck and were trying to find out if anyone was with me. And then there was another time where I drove drunk and smashed into a fire hydrant, destroyed my truck. I remember waking up the next morning, looking at it, thinking it was a dream. So, I had the tendency to go down. I was fortunate enough to be able to control my tendencies to go that direction. This is where the gym was more of an anchor point for me, as well as on the mental side for everything else I was going through.
I love that. It's funny because there's a lot of trainers out there. And I always have the joke when you say body by KFC and they wear a UFC t-shirt, and we laugh about it. But one thing that I found that you said that I agree with it about recovery, it's attraction over promotion. And when you saw what Goldberg had, you were like, all right, what is he doing different? That's what I want. And that's what I always try to, like, if I tell people, I'm my friend Aaron, the trainer, they don't look at you and go, oh, he should be an accountant. They're like, well, what's he doing? And I think that's an incredible thing about walking the talk in recovery. People want to see recovery, and we try to live it, and you live it out loud, and then people get inspired. So for someone watching right now, right, that's a parent, divorces you can't change, but it affects you. And then now looking back, what would you say to someone like let's say a guy, if you're mentoring him and he's about to, and he's got a 12-year-old, right? Like 12 or 13, because I went through horrible stuff in 12 or 13, and he's about to separate from his wife. What advice would you give him, especially knowing what you went through and how it affected you?
You gotta figure out a way to spend quality time doing productive things that keep the child engaged in a way that doesn't allow them to even think about going that direction. This is where the role model piece, I think, is very important as a parent. You know what I mean? It's not, you can't be a parent who's lazy and just expect your kid to do the right thing, especially in this day and age with social media. So I think it's even harder now than it was then. And I see this so much where parents just have this lackadaisical attitude about the way they conduct themselves around their kids, and I think they don't realize how much their kids are watching them. And when you're not around, and you're not paying attention to anything they're doing, and there's kind of this no care attitude, your child's probably not going to go down the right path. So
were your parents, Aaron, I think, were your parents surprised when you ended up in the hospital for the overdose? Was it like, how could this happen?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, honestly, I don't I don't think we've ever really sat down and talked about it. Honestly, one, because I don't really remember a whole lot of it. My mom kept in touch with the paramedic for a long time, the one who saved me. But yeah, it's just a tough situation, because I think it happens more now than it ever has.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we hear like overdoses are still, so many children are getting exposed, and people are starting to experiment with drugs earlier and earlier. I know when I interviewed Mike last time he was on Addiction Talk, he talked about he was 4 years old when he was introduced to alcohol, or actually had, a pass out episode getting drunk from his grandmother. But we see so many kids having that experience. So I think what you said for parents, just to be aware and not to think that this won't happen to your kids, because it can, if we're not paying attention and we're not aware. So when you think about where you are today and how you found fitness, what do you think led you to the fitness? I know you had the role model and you said, oh, he was a Marine and he came back different. But when did you know that fitness was your key out and your anchor for recovery?
Well, when I was in high school, I worked at Subway. I was a sandwich artist.
Sandwich artist, I like that.
Oh, good. Sandwich artist. I love that.
So, there was a gym in Daytona Beach that I started to go to whenever I could. I was super skinny, and I remember seeing a guy in there from Daytona Beach, a professional bodybuilder named Lee Apperson, and I was just kind of mesmerized by his physique. So I kind of dabbled a little bit in fitness in high school. Obviously with athletics, you're doing some type of fitness, but it wasn't until I joined the Marine Corps that I really got bit by the bug. So when I was over in Okinawa, Japan, on my first, my first pump, when you're overseas deployed, anyone who's watching this, if you're a veteran or active duty, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. But essentially, you're either a PT stud or you're an alcoholic. And I don't, I was really trying to be my best, because the Marine Corps and boot camp and all that stuff really zapped my mind into a whole different atmosphere, where I was able to believe in myself and create these new lifestyle habits that I never wanted to change. So I started training in the gym very, very hard, and my body started changing. And the Marines around me were like, "What are you doing?" So everyone wanted to know what I was doing. So I started kind of sharing, and that was the infancy of my Marine Corps, transformation number 2. Boot camp was number 1. This was number 2. And, from that point, when I went on to the bodybuilder section, that's when I got really big and I got really strong. And that's where I started to become known for fitness specifically. Because, like when people were going out on the weekends, I was going to the vitamin shop and laying on the couches and, reading books and stuff. I was really trying to hone in on something that I could have never imagined being a part of my life.
When we try to help veterans that come back, and it's pretty bad in this country, and we're trying to do so much work. You mentioned that it's either fitness or hitting the bar. Why do you think? Is it the stress that so many people in the services? I know a lot of SEALs that drink like savages, and in Australia we used to have the SAS especially, and they were tough dudes, man. They're psychopaths. They would I play rugby and we would drink with them. Why is it like it? Is it the stress, or is it just because you can kind of get away with it? Like, what is that?
Well, when you're in the environment of the military, you're living it 24/7. Essentially, your government property. So whenever you have time to yourself, you try and find whatever outlet you can have to take your mind off of, maybe you got an asshole squad leader or platoon commander that you can't stand, that you have to just obey every single day. And it just pings on that last nerve, to the point where I've seen some people go crazy. So you're constantly trying to find that outlet to alleviate some of that stress, so you can breathe a little bit, get in tune with yourself as much as possible. But when you go down the route of drugs or alcohol, you're not really getting in tune with yourself. You're actually getting more out of tune with yourself. So when when you do that and you keep getting back in that situation, it gets exacerbated. I believe it gets worse and worse. Whereas fitness, you're improving your mind, your mental health, your stress. It's a different type of outlet.
Yeah.
At what point did you find you stopped drinking? Because I know you said you saw that there was these two paths you could go down, and you said, okay, I'm going to go down this fitness path. But did you notice as you went more into the fitness, you stopped drinking, or was it a cold turkey thing?
It was when I hit that fire hydrant. Really, because it could have been really bad. I don't even remember driving. I could have killed somebody. And, I'm sure at some point along the line, I'll bring something up that had a huge impact on my life recently. But I don't want to be that person who killed someone, being behind, me being irresponsible behind the wheel drunk. So it was an eye-opening moment for me.
And then you just found that you could transfer that energy or that way to release in the gym. You would get the same, not necessarily the same feeling, but a way to process what you were going through and release.
Yeah, I say I live my life in extremes. So this is where I'm fortunate enough that I had something I could pivot to. Speaking to Mike's point earlier of pivoting, I'm always pivoting to something. If something's not sitting right with me, or I get put in a bad spot, I'm going to shift to something that helps me move in a positive direction.
Yeah. I always like, and I don't know if your take on it, when I work with addicts a lot of the time, I always tell them, don't think about not drinking again or doing the disempowering. Let's substitute. So you're not missing out on that. Let's just substitute the empowering for the disempowering, right? And then that way, associating massive regret and loss for the disempowering. Like you said, the fire hydrant. Do you believe that's a good motivation? Because a lot of addicts will just like, I can't drink again. I'm like, don't worry about that. We're not worrying about that. Let's just substitute. You've come to a point where the drinking and the drugs is messing up your life. How do you kind of formulate that kind of stuff as well? Like, you know what I mean? Because we all have a different process.
This is where, for me, I was just able to flip the switch. And I know a lot of people can't do that. I wasn't really exposed to alcoholism or people who were chronic drug users in a way that it gave me a lot of perspective. So I only knew what I knew based on how I was feeling and what I did. So for me, I wasn't really thinking about having this addiction. I was thinking about what can I do to shift? Like, I don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Do you think, Aaron, that being in the gym, and I know we want to dig into this fitness part of it, do you think being in the gym helped with the desire to drink, or do you think it helped with processing your emotions? You kind of explained that, but if you could go deeper into that, like how it helped to process and to be in different moments and to even deal with triggers or different things that may have come up.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at fitness is, it's not about vanity. It's not about six packs or selfies. It's really about mindset. So for me, it's the discipline thing. It's about building a life from the inside out that reflects who I really am, right? I think most people kind of approach that backwards, chasing the external, hoping it'll fix the internal. So my mindset around fitness is just really from a deep mental perspective. And I think that's why I listen to the stuff that I listen to when I go to the gym, because it's just like, I can put Enya in and listen to Enya while I train. And people are like, what? Like, I can go into a gym in silence and train. It's when there's music playing that I don't like that I have a hard time with, because it's just noise.
That's so good. Yeah, my playlist is all over the place. I could hear Slipknot some days and then be listening to some Avicii stuff. It's like, it depends on my mood, really. It's like so weird. And people go, you listen to everything. I'm like, yeah, I'm open to anything on the day.
Well, it's, that goes to show the power of music, right? And how it can affect your mental state. Because if you're always listening to music that's really low key and melancholy, it's going to bring you to a place that's probably not too good. That's why it's important to focus on things that you listen to, and even I say music, but I'm also talking about the people you're around, listening to them, because all all that stuff, really, your subconscious is absorbing it like a sponge.
Yeah. And you don't even realize it. And, I wonder if you could take me through when you're training, what's going through your mind? Are you like, okay, I'm training in this moment, or are you processing thoughts for the day? Like, I know that can run the gamut based on the day, but how do you train your mind at the same time?
I put myself in, this from a gym thing, from a gym perspective. If you're not a seasoned gym goer, or whatever you want to call it, like I am, because I've been doing this since '98. It may be hard for some people to understand this, but I put myself in these extreme situations, right? If I don't finish this set, if I don't complete this many reps, then I'll never see my family again. Or I might be thinking to myself someday on a more positive note, where I'm like, you know what? I'm grateful that this is my life, but I want to take this to a level that no one's ever seen before. I want to become a human specimen. I want to show people that no matter how old you are, that you can still keep improving, because you hear the excuse of everything that happens is because of age. And that's completely not true. That's because of your lifestyle habits. That's because of the choices you're making right now, or the choices you've been making. And this is where, when I get into my coaching, it's really deep into changing the lifestyle habits. You have to start small and work your way up. You can't jump into a full-fledged fitness program cold turkey right off the bat and expect to succeed. You have to baby step your way into it, because that's where a lot of people go wrong, is they try and take on too much at one time and they burn themselves out. Their body can't take it.
Here's a question, because you don't compete anymore. When you set a goal, like when you get up to train, because you train like me daily, what do you, like you just said, like when you work out, do you set a goal for the week? Like at the beginning of the week, you're going to do these workouts, and then say, okay, you like for me, if at the end of every week, I try to do like a pull-up marathon. Some days it's 300 in the hour, but the start of the week I do something light, and the end of the month I try to do something, and it just gives me like these. So I get up every day with some motivation, because I love working out, the feeling. Do you do those things? Because when you got a competition, it's different. 16 weeks, you've competed before on the big stages. It's a different prep. Do you do those things, or do you just go into the moment and say, today's workout is this? No matter what, I'm getting to that result.
I actually work with a coach too, and this is where I say it doesn't matter how good you are or how seasoned you are. Everyone can use a coach. So I have workouts that have been created for me to do. I do check-ins to make sure that it's keeping me accountable and on point, because as busy as I am, and you know how it is, Mike, it's very easy to get right. Thrown off, and then you kind of put yourself in the back seat for a minute. But if you have someone who has eyes on you, that has the driver's seat in your transformation, you have the support, and you have someone who can help tell you what to do. Not only do you learn more, but it also takes some pressure off, where you can actually enjoy it more and have fun. So, I do like to do what you do, instinctively train. But right now where I am, I'm trying to really take what I'm doing right now to another level. And if I don't have someone keeping eyes on me, I'll 100% overtrain, because addiction, I'm addicted to the gym. Like I literally will go 2 times a day and not eat enough, and overtrain myself to the point where I can't even get out of bed in the morning.
That makes sense.
And we have a question that came in. Yeah. Were you going to read it? Go ahead, Mike.
You go.
Well, we have Sarah who's asking the question, how do you keep the mental toughness day after day and not let the roadblocks beat you down?
That's a good question, and thank you for asking it. I say this is where it comes down to purpose for me. I don't just go to the gym to train. There's a purpose and intention behind everything I do. And the journey that I'm on right now, I'm really trying to create something unique and special in my life. I would say in memory of my friends, brothers, sisters who didn't make it back. On the times that I want to give up and I have those weak moments, I think about that. I think about my family who's not with me, that I don't see. And it brings me back to, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm sacrificing for right here. So there is no let your foot off the gas. It's full tilt, full gas all the way.
Mhm. And you know what I love about you, Aaron, when I heard more of your story is how you do give back to veterans and service members. Like you literally go in and help them to see how fitness can help them in the challenges or the things that they're facing. When did you know that not only were you going to be doing this for yourself, but and celebrities, but you're going to reach back into, you know, the veterans and the service members who you've seen struggle?
It was really when I was homeless, because I always go back to that place and I think about what I was going through, and then I put that into perspective about what they're going through now. So there's a relatability to it that I have that allows me to speak their language, that allows me to use what I'm doing. This is where looking back on it, then I was like, how the hell can this happen to me? I've done all of these amazing things, and here I am now. But what I realize now, if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have some of this perspective that I have now to share.
It's amazing.
And I want to go back to that because you said homelessness, and so I'm wondering how this all fits into the picture and even gives you the heart that you have today for others and for veterans and service members. So we hear you went through the struggle, you 7th grade, you have the overdose, you go to a psychiatric ward, you finally find your footing, you go to the Marines, and it seems like you're excelling because you find fitness in that and you find discipline in that and camaraderie. So how did you find yourself homeless? Was this after you left the Marines that you had another setback? Because I think that's really important for people to understand that.
Yeah, I had an amazing Marine Corps career. I ended my active service. I went back overseas and did 4 years of contract work, which I pretty much spent most of those 4 years over there. I might have come home for a total of maybe 2 months. And then it started getting very dangerous as the transition was happening, as we were turning everything back over to the Iraqis. It was just becoming much, much more dangerous of a place because, a lot of the coalition and U.S. support was pulling out. So there was a lot of little things that started to happen where I would say they're close calls that make you think about what you're doing and should you still be here. And I took the leap of faith to go to New Orleans for some contract work under Marine Forces North. That didn't quite pan out how I thought it was going to pan out, and it left me in a bad position. So I was trying to find work for a long time. So I was burning through my money. I've got financial responsibilities. I had a bad marriage when I was overseas that, ended. So I came back with a heavy burden on my shoulders. And then all of a sudden now I couldn't find work. So I'm just burning through money to the point where I'm like, I couldn't sustain myself anymore. And I lost everything I had. So I was living in my car, having these moments of like, where does this go? Do I go back overseas? Do I pull the trigger? Like, what's the next step? And it goes back to answering that question that was just on the screen a little bit ago. How do you keep going? Well, it's about the responsibility of doing something with my life. I have a family. I want to see them. And so I decided to, out of desperation, fitness is never something that I wanted to share as an occupation, as a job. It was more of a passion and a love I had for myself. But out of desperation, I got certified as a personal trainer. I found a 24-hour gym in Uptown New Orleans. I decided that I needed a goal. So I decided I was going to compete in the regional New Orleans bodybuilding competition. I was going to win the show, become Mr. New Orleans, and promote health and fitness around the city, the most unlikely place. I won it. I started doing that. I was on the news. I found a great gym. And then all of a sudden, Zac Efron walked into the gym I was training at, and that was the beginning.
Whoa. How powerful is that? It's like in your darkest moment, because you said, should I pull the trigger? What did you mean by that? I want to make sure I didn't overlook that because it sounded like you were in a desperate place right there.
Yeah, I didn't. I just did. I wanted to give up. I was tired, and I just wanted to end it, to end my life.
Wow. And from that moment to saying, what can I do next? You found personal training. Zac Efron walks in, and from this day forward, this is where you are today. That is an amazing comeback. I mean, talk about high and lows, Aaron, and being a testament to people that never give up because you never know what's on the other side. I think that's so huge.
Yeah, it was. This is that piece is what I call the destiny piece, or God had it. This was God's plan the whole time. I needed to go through it because this is just another chapter in the story. And this goes back to the beginning question you asked. Relentless, my whole life up to this day right now. And Mike knows what I just went through. It's like even still now, I just went through something very bad last year. I'm recovering from again.
Yeah.
Bad people.
Yeah, Aaron, I have a question. There you go.
Go.
No, I was going to say, like, you're in your darkest hour, right? And because I always listen to my intuition, and I can't describe it. I just kind of lean into it, and it's like Steve Jobs always says, you kind of connect the dots going backwards, like when he got kicked out of Apple, and then it was the best thing because he went to Pixar. I think a lot of people, when you go through that, can't tap into that because you got to have a lot of faith in yourself when you follow your intuition, because it's dark and you've got to follow the path and you don't know where it's going to lead. But It always, when I listen to you, I hear this intuitive voice, and I always hear attraction over promotion. So people let you down, you back yourself. And then obviously Zac Efron looks at you and says, well, what's this guy doing? Because you couldn't have looked like a bag of donuts. You must have looked like the Michelin, like jacked up. Like, he was like, who is this guy, right? It's in the most unlikely place, New Orleans, not the fitness capital of the world. Should have been Hollywood, right? And he discovers you. Do you always, like, when you get stuck, go, you know what? That's because I always believe the universe will give us crumbs, even though we want the cake. And it's those little God shots and those little hunt, like, you know what? That's God telling me I've just got to stay on the path. Do you follow that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even to this day, and I believe that this is where a lot of people have difficulties because they don't believe in themselves enough to go with that intuition, that gut feeling, because there's this connection between the gut and the brain and just everything really coming together. If you just really believe in yourself that you can accomplish it. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen if you're already in a bad place? You know what I mean? It's like, why not just go all in?
Yeah.
And I think you have definitely gone all in, because list off some of the celebrities that you worked with, because I want to see some of these bodies. I mean, first of all, The Rock, we already know, his body is magnificent. So the fact that you've trained with him before, I see we have, go ahead, break it down for us. Some of the people
This is J.K. Simmons. This transformation went viral back in 2016 and then again in 2018. And ironically enough, you'll see him more in roles today where he actually gets to showcase his body in a very muscular way, which if it wasn't for these photos and this transformation, he probably wouldn't have gotten these roles.
Wow. Anybody else that really stands out to you?
Josh Brolin, we did a good one together. Jamie Foxx, we did some good stuff together. I mean, I have a long list of them. I would like to think that they're all really good. Some of them were just for different reasons. Some of them were for characters in big movies, and then some of them were for movies where maybe someone had to get ready for a bedroom scene, so it wasn't as intense. So there's different facets of the transformation space in the film and TV industry.
Well, before we wrap up, we do have some final questions, just some advice from your journey that we'd like to tap into and just give any final words of wisdom. But one of the first things we like to ask people, besides fitness, what is 3 things you need to stay sober?
That's a good one. I would say purpose, connection, and structure. And I'd say purpose because you have to find a deeper reason to keep going every day, to keep fighting the good fight, so to speak. Because when you're in these tough spots, it's very easy to just want to take the foot off the gas, want to lay back, just chill out, take it easy, or do something that's not the right thing to do, which I almost did. I would say connection because you need real, honest relationships. And I had to learn the hard way that isolation is not the right way to go, because that can be its own poison in itself, because isolation can become very comfortable to the point where you don't want to be around anybody ever. And then you're not sharing your gift with anybody. You're just further putting yourself in a darker place. And I would say for, structure, a daily routine that anchors the mind, but also keeps the chaos at bay. A lot of people are reactive, right? They let the day control them. You have to be in control of your day by structure and routine. And that's the only way you can do that.
What other structure and routine, I had to ask this, besides fitness, do you have? Because I know some of us are like, okay, we can get on the fitness journey, which we all should. I mean, because as you said, the mental, all the benefits of it. But is there anything else you do for structure outside of fitness?
Obviously, if you want to take nutrition into account, nutrition is a huge piece of it. I would say probably most of my day revolves around making sure that I'm getting all my food in. Sleep is more important than I would say going to the gym is, because if I have a bad night of sleep, I'm probably going to take the next day off of the gym. And if you get these wearable electronic devices that you can kind of capture some really important data on, it's very interesting to see the trends when you actually don't follow the structure and the routine, how it affects your heart rate, your recovery, your VO2 max, like all these different things that you would never think about. But when you walk around and you're just lethargic, well, some of these metrics can add up. Meditation, breath work, a lot of little things like that. Like I get up at 3 a.m, come out straight to the red light, helps wake me up. 3:30 is my first meal. 4:30 I'm at the gym. I come home, I'm eating again, and then I'm in my routine of getting behind the computer here, doing whatever work I have to do for clients or businesses. And again, it's like these are all things that I have mapped out in my routine that I write down the night before. So when I do get home, I have a plan for the day. I'm not just leaving it to chance.
Mike, you want to ask that question? Excuse me.
This one, what's your opinion on being comfortable? How do you find balance between being uncomfortable and comfortable? Are you an advocate for seeking discomfort in a way that promotes growth?
Wait, that was a lot.
All right. So basically, let me jump it down. What they were saying, so basically they're trying to say, are you an advocate? Because for me, being uncomfortable means you're growing. So they're asking, are you an advocate for someone that believes that to grow, you need to be on discomfort?
Yes. If you're constantly comfortable all the time, where's the growth? It's the same with the gym, right? If I'm going into the gym every day and I'm comfortably lifting weights, there's no stimulus for the body to have to adapt to. And I believe the same thing in life. I don't always want to go out to networking events, or I don't always want to go out and be in front of people. But when you can push yourself to do it, you're glad you did, because you met this person, this person, this person. Now all of a sudden you got this contact, and then who knows where that contact's going to lead to and what doors could open. So you have to push yourself in uncomfortable ways constantly. I would say for the most part, I live in a state of being uncomfortable. I really don't know what comfortable is unless I have a day off and I can like have some pizza or do something like really, really easy for me, which doesn't happen very often.
I'm interested in this. When is the last time, I know you said you live in this, but when's the last time you did something really uncomfortable? Take it, because we want to just get inside your brain a little bit and see what's uncomfortable for you.
I went down to San Antonio this past weekend and did a Murph. I've never done a Murph before. Wasn't able to train.
What the Murph is to the average person, because they have no clue what you mean by Murph.
Yes,
for those who know, it's a big deal.
A Murph is a kind of a tribute workout to Lieutenant Michael Murphy, who was killed in Afghanistan. And it's an intense workout that's all about pushing your limits, right? So you wear a weighted vest. You started out with a mile run, then you do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats, and then you finish with another mile run. A lot of people they have this type of routine that they normally do. It's kind of more, I would say, like CrossFit style type training. But for me, I'm a gym guy. So even when I went out there, I'm like, I've got to just do this with the strict form that I know. So like today's the first day I'm not sore again. But I remember thinking about it, I'm like, man, I'm not prepared for this. I'm going to look stupid out there in front of everybody because I'm so big and I've got so much weight and I got to do all this stuff that I've never done and haven't prepped for it. So, I mean, I would say at some point every day or every week, I'm doing something that pushes me way outside of my comfort zone.
Awesome.
That's a lot.
I have one question that I want to break people's minds open. So you didn't start like this freak athlete. You've worked hard. How much is nature and nurture, like natural ability and gifts,
That's a good
and
question.
actual work? Do you know what I mean? Because people get it mixed up. They think that they see it. Like The Rock is in better shape now than when he was in 32, right? Mm-hmm. So, and we're not going to talk about PEDs and that. We're going to talk about just training. So how much, because people say, oh, well, that person's gifted or that person has better genetics. Genetics does play a part, but everyone can reach their natural potential. How much is nature and nurture?
I mean, it's really about hitting plateaus and adjusting off of plateaus, right? So if you're pushing yourself to a point where you burn out, I mean, we're talking about fitness.
Yeah, just because when you look at, have people say, look, I'm 52 and I'm in better shape than most 22-year-olds. They can't pull up me. So yeah. I just keep working. Now, don't get me wrong. I've got good genetics and I'm naturally strong. And I was a good sprinter, a state champion sprinter as a kid, but I work my butt off. So what I'm going to say is people look at you. Of course you work hard, but you didn't start looking like that. You
saw that picture up on the screen when I was a kid, and my kneecap was bigger than my leg.
But your leg. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, did you say, Aaron, your kneecap?
My kneecap. Like I graduated Marine Corps boot camp at 160 pounds. I'm 6'3".
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. It's like a puzzle. You have all these pieces that you have to figure out how to put together, and it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But as you slowly start putting these pieces of the puzzle together, everything starts to make more sense. Your body starts changing the way you want it to, and this is where I say you know if you're in the gym training to look better and feel better, it's good to change the perspective of what it means to go in and train, right? Because when I go in there, I'm looking at my body as art. I'm creating a masterpiece, right? So my body's the canvas. You've got nutrition and in the weights as the paintbrush and the paint, and you're just sculpting. And if you can reframe it to the point where you have fun and take your ego out of it, because no one cares how much you lift. I don't care how much you lift. The people who care how much you lift are stupid. They're the ones that are the meatheads and no one wants to be around, right? The ones that actually are worthwhile in the gym are the ones who motivate you or help you with your form or correct you, and you create this camaraderie and this bond, and you have this gym culture that supports the goals. That's what you're looking for. But it goes back to you can't just go in and go through the motions every day, because I see this so much. In the gym you'll see someone in there for 2 years and they don't look any different, and they're doing the same thing. Like they're just moving weight with no intention behind it. So if you can change that to think about, rep schematics and different program structure and things like that, this is where your body starts to change. You get stronger. When you get stronger, your clothes fit better. When your clothes fit better, you feel more confident. When you walk into rooms, people notice you more. There's just so many different things that come off of it. So nature versus nurture, it's all of it. Like you've got to have a good balance of both.
Love it.
So you believe, Aaron, if I'm hearing you correctly, that anybody can have that body that they desire.
I do believe it, because the power of visualization backed by discipline and consistency will get you there. But it's a journey. It's a marathon. It's not something that's going to happen in 1 or 2 or 5 years. It's going to take a while.
But it sounds like a recovery journey. You know what I mean? Like as I hear it, I know, Mike, I hear you acknowledging it's like, it's the same thing with recovery, right? It's a journey. It's not like you're going to get there overnight. You make a decision, you go to treatment or however you decide is your path for recovery, and you're on the journey. And
there's no destination. There's just the journey.
But that's the new lifestyle. That's the new lifestyle you're creating.
Yep.
And it's like if you stop working out, you go backwards, right? It's the same thing. If you stop working your recovery, you're at risk.
Yep.
Well, one final question for you. What is your life like today? And what do you have planned next? What's big for you right now? I know you just said you did the Murph and you survived it, right? You did great. You got ready for that. But what's next for you?
There's so much going on right now. I'm slowly maneuvering back into the film and TV side of things. I've got some pretty cool stuff coming up this summer. I'm just grateful to be working with veterans again, because I got off track a little bit with COVID, and I had a bad business partnership that really just took a toll on me. So I'm back in my neck of the woods now, doing what I like to do, that has just tremendous purpose behind it, which makes my soul feel more alive than it's ever been. And obviously, we're doing the Transcend stuff. We're working with the veteran organization, helping veterans and first responders, just so much amazing things.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love to see it. It has just been such a gift to be able to hear your journey. You are the comeback kid, from all the things. It's like nothing can keep you down. And I think hopefully tonight, when somebody has heard your story, they know that it's not where you land, it's how you get back up. It's not how you fall, but it's about getting back up. And you and Mike are like twinning in this area. When I hear you talk, Aaron, it's like I'm listening to Mike, but he's telling the same thing to me or to our teams every day about the mindset and, the discipline it takes and what it takes to really be successful in recovery and in life. So we thank you. Any final words from you, Mike?
No, I'm just blessed to be, working from the beginning. We've always wanted to do this stuff, and now I can be of service to veterans and the stuff we're doing to veterans, because that's a big thing to me. They're underserved, and there's so many of them suffer, and we have a really crazy world right now politically. So the fact that we can help as many people we've always wanted to combine fitness and recovery. And people laughed at us when we talked about it from the beginning. Like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And I told him, I'm like, it's going to happen. And then when I called him and said, I'm with this great company now, trust me, you got to join the team. I said, it's real, it's legit people. And then straight away after our first conversation, he goes, this is finally happening. And I said, yeah, because we wanted it to happen. So it's just, man, I love you. And you know that. We've been very close for years, and this is really amazing.
And Mike is teasing. He's not giving you the full details. But it means some big things are coming down the pipeline that we're working on.
Oh, yeah, big things. I just like to be smart. You know me, I just keep it remember, it's the journey. We've got a lot. No, there's big things coming, real big things. But we're just keeping it very, very simple.
I wrote this down. I wanted to say this before I got off, because I think it could be important for anyone who is in the space right now where they're trying to just gain foothold. Start messy, stay consistent, let it save your life one rep at a time. Your mind is loud in early recovery. With unpredictable emotions, you need something to silence the noise. And fitness does that. So don't wait to be ready. Just move.
Just move. Thank you so much. Nothing more to be said. I think that was a great way to end it. And thank you again for coming on Addiction Talk, Aaron. And we'll look forward to all the big things you have coming up, including those movies and films you're talking about. So thank you again. And that's going to do it for another episode of Addiction Talk. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.